Hello, Washington football fans, and welcome to another edition of the Washington Wrap. I'm your host, Chad Ryan, and if you're unfamiliar with this format, we are a 10-minute single-issue show where we try to break down whatever that day's topic is, whatever that episode's topic is, with a timer of 10 minutes counting us down. Today, this episode is the first of a three-part series that we're recording during the bye week, looking at every aspect of this Washington football team, the offense, the defense, and the coaching, and trying to give them a letter grade at this point of the 2021 campaign. So without further ado, let's bring in the co-hosts for this three-part series. It is, of course, my good friends Felix Trammell and Robbie Duncan. Let's start the timer. Let's bring them in. 10 minutes on the clock. This episode is focused on the offense. So Felix, I'm going to start with you. The offense, when we went into this season, I remember talking, in the lead up to this season during training camp and preseason and everything, we were all talking about how the defense was going to keep us in games and the offense just needs to keep up and not cause too much damage, when in reality it's sort of been the flip side of that this season, at least to the start of the year. The offense has been what's been keeping us close in some of these games. Let's start with, we're not going to jump straight into I give the offense this grade, but what has worked for the offense and what hasn't worked for the offense from your point of view?
I think at the beginning of the year, the offense was really strong, and it was the ability to be multiple. And that started with a strong Antonio Gibson. And that allowed some good play actions where our guys could get down the field and be open. Like the Atlanta game, for instance. I mean, we had receivers running open left and right. And that's because Antonio Gibson was such a threat running the ball. I think lately, because I think if his injury is more serious than they think it is, or he can't push through it like he would want himself to, the team has become more predictable because they can't run the ball effectively. And part of that also has been the attrition on the offensive line. So I think that coupled together has kind of slowed the offense down. But off to a good start for the year. It shows some complexity. I think the biggest issue was finishing drives with touchdowns and not field goals. And we do that in a couple other games. We're not 2-6. We're 4-4 or 5-3. If we can just put the ball in the end zone, from 20 to 20, we're a very solid offense. So I think it's that last finish line area.
Yeah, well, I started with Felix because I wanted to pivot to Robbie about his boy Taylor Heinicke, for what I assumed would be the second question, and that's where we've ended up. Taylor Heinicke, has come in unexpectedly with Ryan Fitzpatrick going down injured, as we all know now, so we're not going to dwell on that. But really, early Taylor Heinicke, we saw scrambling, extending plays with his legs, and we've sort of seen that drop away in the last month or so. It's still there a little bit, but he definitely seems to be trying to stay in the pocket more and be more of a pocket passer, whether that's been instructed, whether this is him trying to build that element of his game, I'm not sure. But either way, it seems to have made the offense a little more one-dimensional, and the ball hasn't been moving as much. What are you seeing from Taylor Heinicke in that regard, Robbie? And you obviously played with him. Are you seeing him holding back, or are you seeing him trying to do more?
It's the inaccuracy is what's really standing out to me. He's still fairly poised, I feel like, but he's missing a lot of throws, and I think that really stood out in the Saints game. We had Terry open on a lot of routes, and I think Marshawn Lattimore looked better than what he was because of some bad throws. And I think his inaccuracies showed up since then as well. And it was going on before that game too, but the Saints game really stands out to me. And we were moving the ball against the Broncos. We were moving the ball against the Packers, but just couldn't finish drives. And that's the crazy thing to me is, the inability to finish and score, get points in the red zone. Like it was 7-8 drives against the Packers that they didn't score on. And it's mind boggling to me that we weren't able to capitalize on those opportunities. And you saw what the Packers beat the Chiefs, or would have beaten the Chiefs if Aaron Rodgers had been playing. So you look at the opportunities you had to get some good quality wins under your schedule, but couldn't capitalize on those opportunities. So I mean, that comes down to him in the grand scheme of things. You can question the slide into the end zone where they ruled him down because he was sliding or giving himself up. But at the same time, you gotta just go for the end zone. You gotta run like normal. If they're going to hit you, they're going to hit you at that point. You're going to the red end zone. They're going to hit you because they don't want to let you in there, or at least they're going to make you pay for it at the same time. I know you're trying to protect yourself, but that really hurt the team at that point because you were too indecisive on how you wanted to go in the end zone there. And then same thing for the sneaks and stuff. It's just some questionable things that I'm not used to from when I played with him. He was always very decisive, very accurate. I mean, the high throws, the sailing balls is not something I'm used to from when I played with him. He was always very pinpoint accurate and really great at going through his progression and taking what the defense gave him. I feel like it's starting to really catch up to him now where he's hitting that sort of rookie wall. Yeah, I know he's not a rookie, but in the grand scheme of things, starting numbers wise, he's not, he's not like a guy that's been starting for 3 or 4 years. So I think some of that's starting to catch up to him too. And he's trying to get through it, but it's not necessarily getting done like we want it to.
Yeah. I think let's be fair to whoever the quarterback was going to be, Fitzpatrick or Heineke. And obviously for the majority of the season, it's been Heineke. Going into this season, we thought we would have weapons besides Terry McLaurin in terms of receivers. We thought we'd have Curtis Samuel. We thought we'd have Logan Thomas. Both of those guys on injured reserve. Potentially we'll see them on the other side of the bye week. We still don't know for sure. But the point is we haven't had them. We had a little bit of Logan Thomas before he got hurt. We really haven't had any of Curtis Samuel. And we're not getting consistent play. Like, I don't feel like any of that sort of second and third tier of receivers behind those guys, like your Dax Milnes, your DeAndre Carters, even your Adam Humphreys. We haven't seen one of those guys step up and be like, okay, this is my opportunity. I'm going to cement myself as the number 2 behind Terry McLaurin. I'm going to cement myself as the guy who's going to be open when McLaurin's covered. And that's holding the offense back, I think, in a lot of regards. Now, some guys are getting open and Heineke's missing them. I'm not sitting here saying Heineke's been great and everything else is the problem, but it's definitely something to consider when we try to grade this offense. And I guess that's my segue, because I'm going to be the first cab off the rank. The offense is probably the hardest unit to grade, at least grade fairly, because they've had the most injuries. They've had the most injuries at the highest impact positions. I mean, anytime you lose, last week we didn't have anyone on our starting offensive line except Charles Leno, from our week 1 starters. And by the way, Charles Leno has been a great addition at left tackle. So, that stuff has an impact. That stuff matters. So with that in mind, my grade for the offense does have an injury caveat on it, and my grade is a B-. Now, if we had all our starters and we were seeing the same sort of scores, the same sort of results, that grade would be significantly lower. But with the cattle we have on the park, Heineke and, Ricky Seals-Jones and these sort of guys being, such prominent pieces, I think a B- is acceptable. It shows there's a lot of room for improvement, and it shows that things aren't as good as they could be, but it shows that they're getting it done okay. I don't know. I felt like a C was too harsh, but that's me. Felix, I'm keen to hear your grade, and then we'll finish with Robbie's. We got 2 minutes left.
All right. I'm more of a C. We've and that's including the injury caveat. We've had injuries. Losing Cosme was a big deal. People do not realize how big a deal that is. And then we lost Lucas behind him. Mm-hmm. And so we were down to our third tackle, right tackle.
And now Sadiq Charles is on the COVID list.
Broncos are still a top 5 defense. So like people aren't registering how much that matters. But I think there are times when we call good plays and the execution has been bad, or a time where we've called bad plays when we've been executing well. And it just hasn't lined up perfectly like it could. So Taylor's missed a lot of throws high. He's been doing that all year. This is what he was doing in August. This is not a shock. I saw him doing this all August in training camp. But I'm leaning more towards a C, because sometimes Scott Turner calls some great plays and we miss it. And then sometimes we call some very questionable plays, especially in the red zone, which leaves us at a disadvantage because we don't have that big go-to guy to just whatever, throw it up and make a play. So I'm going to go with a C just because it's kind of disjointed, but it can be easily roped together and improved.
All right. So, Robbie, your lightning round, about 30 seconds to finish this up. Your grade on the offense.
I'll be stricter. I mean, I don't think I think things are open when he dials it up, but he's very inconsistent in his play calls with Scott Turner calling the offense. Like there's the decision making with what to call has really kind of come into question for me. Like, for example, there's been at least 2 or 3 times where they've called these short gain on 3rd and longs. Like, are you trying to set up a 4th down play call or not? Like, why would you call that at this particular situation? And then, I don't think outside of Terry, we're really that good at receiver right now. De'Ami Brown's been very disappointing. He drops a lot of catches. People don't seem to be open as much. If they are open, it's not often enough, and Taylor will miss it. I think overall it's not good enough. I don't think we run the ball enough because I think that's our strong suit right now. So I'm going to give him a C-. And say it should be better, even though we don't have a franchise quarterback. I'll admit that it should be better than what it is. We've had our opportunities and we have not taken advantage of it.
All right, so I rate the offense at B-. Felix has got them a C, and Robbie's got them a C-. Let us know on Twitter or on Facebook who you agree with. Who do you think it should be higher? Do you think it should be lower? We're fascinated to hear. As I said, this is the first of 3 episodes coming out today that do this, so we're going to wrap this up, but we're not going to have too much of a hubbub. We're going to jump straight into an episode about the defense next. But just in case this is the only episode you listen to, you can find us on Twitter at ChadwicoTWW for me. Felix is at HTTR and Bless, and Robbie is at Robbie Duncan OL. Our handles are under our names here if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave us a review and a rating, and we'll see you in the next episodes.